Brothers and sisters, today we're going to be celebrating high-tech eats. Meatless, of course, yet with the mouthfeel of meat. We've got to have it, the mouthfeel I mean. It's all so ecological, you see. They neglect to tell you that it's made with Roundup-ready soybeans, genetically engineered, of course. Soy is implicated in deforestation and destruction of habitat to a great extent. Large amounts of pesticides are used in its production. This means that it's likely that the soybeans will be contaminated with glyphosate. Recently, there have been a number of courtroom verdicts implicating it as a carcinogen. But what about the blood that oozes out? It is derived from a genetically engineered yeast. Fake meat, then, is loaded with GMOs. Here's Jeffrey Smith with the Institute for Responsible Technology to tell you about the dangers.
What scientific studies have been done on the health impacts of GMOs on our health, and what did the studies show?
There's been numerous studies now that show significant impacts on animals that are force-fed GMOs in feeding trials. Potentially precancerous cell growth in the digestive tract, smaller brains, livers, and testicles, partial atrophy of the liver, damaged immune system, activated immune system, multiple massive tumors, premature death, significant issues throughout the range of areas that they've tested, including damage to the microbiome. Now, these are not unpredicted because the process of genetic engineering itself causes massive collateral damage within the DNA and can create randomly new toxins, allergens, anti-nutrients, or increased levels of existing toxins, allergens, and anti-nutrients.
Moreover, a number of studies have shown that ultra-processed foods raise the risk of cancer. The more ultra-processed the food you eat, the greater your risk. Never before in the history of humankind has genetically engineered yeast been a part of the diet. Let's then celebrate. Let's celebrate fake meat. Ultra-processed, contaminated with glyphosate, made with genetically engineered soybeans, oozing a red-colored chemical genetically engineered to resemble blood. Anything for mouthfeel, it seems. I can't wait to gobble it up. But hold on. Why not abolish cows and replace them with fake meat? Would not this be an enlightened, progressive thing to do? After all, factory farming is responsible for a large share of today's air pollution, water pollution, deforestation, rising carbon emissions, and the depletion, erosion, and poisoning of soils. In a contained animal feeding operation, or CAFO, the animals are packed together in unspeakable conditions, atrocious and filthy. They belch tons of CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide into the atmosphere. Meat produced in CAFOs is indeed an abomination. There is an alternative, however, namely 100% grass-fed beef. In moderation, it is a very beneficial food. Fake meat is nutritionally inferior. According to Dr. Mercola, as a general rule, I believe, man-made foods are vastly inferior to natural whole foods and always will be. Outperforming nature is a tall order. No one has succeeded yet. Also, raw milk and raw milk products are wondrous foods. Ask any biodynamic farmer. He will tell you. Healthy, vibrant food and plants require an animal essence. Well-composted manure is indispensable. It's gold, pure gold. As a soil conditioner and moderate fertilizer, it is beyond compare. Cow manure is an essential part of organic farming and gardening. Cows have an important role to play in a truly regenerative agriculture. As Ronnie Cummins with the Organic Consumers Association explains, there are 8 billion acres of pasture and rangeland worldwide that are simply not suitable for raising crops, but can support livestock. Cattle play an important role in the ecological balance of these lands. It is a paradox. Imprisoning animals in factory farms is a major contributor to pollution of both air and water. But allowing them to graze is a key to sequestering excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This carbon is stored in the world's billions of acres of rangelands and pasturelands. As Ronnie Cummins tells us, through the miraculous process of photosynthesis, plants, including pasture grasses, have the ability to breathe in CO2 and transpire or release oxygen, simultaneously turning atmospheric CO2 into a form of liquid carbon that not only builds up the plant's above-ground biomass, leaves, flowers, branches, trunk, or stem, but also travels through the plant's roots into the soil below. When a cow eats a blade of grass, the grass sheds some of its roots. These are then eaten by the worms, nematodes, and microbes, digested by the soil in effect, and so added to the soil's bank of carbon. That is how the soil is built up. Thus, photosynthesis, as generated through healthy soils and forests, and 100% grass-fed holistic grazing, draws down excess carbon from the atmosphere and stores it in our soils. As Judith Schwartz explains in her book, Cows Save the Planet. Holistic, rotational grazing, especially in pastures where perennial trees and plants are growing, is the key to averting climate catastrophe. Think of the Great Plains. They once teemed with endless herds of buffalo, so much so that the transcontinental railroad trains had to stop for days on end to allow the herds to pass. Thus, the fertility of those lands persists to this day, despite the gross abuse, is a tribute to the buffalo. As Ronnie Cummins surmises, the long-term answer lies in the transition to sustainable, regenerative, chemical-free farming practices, not in the creation of food manufacturing techniques that replace farms with chemical labs. It does not make sense to replace cows with fake meat. Fake meat, ultra-processed food, is no quick fix. It is no resolution to the crisis of American agriculture. It is more a symptom of estrangement. Let us go deeper still. In agriculture, we see a shift towards growing vegetables and fruits in chemical soup in greenhouses. It's called hydroponics. Those raspberries, blackberries, those tomatoes all winter long that have been coming from Mexico are grown in chemical soup. And it's becoming a tidal wave here. So we have it. The movement to abolish soil on the one hand, to abolish animals on the other, means removing people yet further from the source of their vitality, from the source of their vital sustenance. It also means the end of family farms. Yet, we're told, it is all so ecological. We have a better idea. In place of an ultra-processed, artificial substance with no counterpart in nature, why not try a veggie burger? How about a black bean sweet potato burger? You can find it on eatingbirdfood.com. Brothers and sisters, the rush to fake meat is the rush to dehumanization. It is a road sign on the highway to extinction. In place of fake meat, we say, rather build here an edible schoolyard for the American spirit. Thank you indeed. Let's go forward, brothers and sisters.